All right. So if you're just jumping in, once again, we go live every Sunday night. And tonight we're talking about mental health. And our question goes something like this: have teachers confused dedication with self destruction in education? At what point did being a good teacher start costing teachers their health? Is teaching actually sustainable, or have we just learned to survive in what was never meant to be normal? So, what if mental health struggles that so many teachers feel is not a failure, but it's actually a signal? And so, in this video, we're going to describe what so many teachers are feeling, why it's happening, and why it doesn't mean that you're failing. But more than that, we're going to provide some solutions. And so, Doc, what is the mental health number one mental health crisis that you think teachers are dealing with today?
Well, one of the biggest things is decision fatigue. And what that means is they get into like what's a sensory overload. The brain just gets overloaded with not only the yelling in the classroom, the hallways, but the demands of the job. And they just keep growing. One of the things I used to ask all the time was, when is enough going to be enough? There's
Absolutely.
always, right? There's always a new textbook that we have to use or a new strategy that we're supposed to be implementing or new data that we're supposed to be collecting. And there's got to be a point where we've got to kind of calm that chaos. Unfortunately, exactly like what you said, so many people have just gotten used to it. We're in survival mode at this point. Just get me to Friday or just get me to the
Yes.
morning.
Yes.
So a lot of people go home and they're just exhausted. They can't do anything. And it's this vicious cycle. So that's what we're hoping that we can kind of talk a little bit about today is kind of breaking that cycle, letting you step away so that you can come up with some creative things just like Carol did in whether it's a business or just a creative outlet to kind of give your brain a break and let some healing happen.
So, Carol, I'm curious. Has your hobby of rooted in grace and your semi business there, does that help with decision fatigue? Does it help you with some of the struggles that you face as a teacher?
It does in a sense that I am able to, at some point in the day, step away from having to think or automatically thinking about education. It doesn't take the stress away, but it takes my mind away from it for part of the day, and has really helped me try and keep the stress for work at work and not
Yeah.
bring it home. Which
Yeah.
for the first 20 plus years of my career, that was definitely a bad habit.
So I know that, one of the things that we hear all the time is how teachers bring work home. And I think that whenever we say work, a lot of times what we think about is we think about grading papers or answering emails or having to lesson plan at home. But whenever I talk about bringing work home, what I mean is I mean bringing the mental aspect, the stresses, the crazy parent, the nutty kid, the colleague down the hallway that's driving us nuts. We bring all of that stuff home with us, and it keeps us from being able to rest. Doc, is there anything to what I'm talking about right there? I mean, there is the idea of we shouldn't be bringing our actual work home, which I think, Carol, you committed to a full year of that last year, of not
Absolutely.
bringing any work whatsoever home. I don't think we should ever
Absolutely.
bring any work home. But with that being said, is there a difference between working on stuff and the thought process of having to process work?
Well, exactly. And that's the boundaries that we've talked a lot about. It's imperative that we establish boundaries, not only physically, AKA bringing the work home, but mentally being
Hmm.
able to leave it at work. Because if we're at home thinking about work, then it completely defeats the process. So, what we really need to do is just make sure that we establish those clear boundaries. So, sometimes that means adopting a great hobby. It can be exercise, it can be a lot of different things. It's just you're going to have to figure out where and how you can turn your brain off.
So I was walking in between our buildings Friday, and I ran into one of our colleagues, and I looked at him, and I said, "Decision fatigue has set in."
Mm,
And I tried to describe it to him because I had all these different things that I really, really, really needed to get done. I had a lot of athletic stuff I needed to get done. I had a lot of paperwork I needed to get done, but I had so many referrals and I had so many problems. I had so many people pulling me in different directions, wanting me to do certain things. And I simply reached a point on Friday where I could no longer make another decision. Doc, what part of the brain am I working in when that happens?
Well, what's happened is you are not using your frontal lobe, right? So, what happens is your entire nervous system is going into that fight or flight, which we've talked a lot about, and our decision making is just fried. So, that is then when we can go into those. Again, I keep pulling out of that strategy bucket, right?
Hmm.
So, what can you do differently? Because, and we're all going to get tired, and it's okay to get tired. I think that's a big piece that we're going to talk about too. But it's recognizing that you do not always have to be the superhero in this story. So, definitely looking at that fight or flight and making sure that we're keeping that in check, and allowing our frontal lobe to do that decision making.
So, Carol, do you ever notice any signs in your body whenever you start to deal with decision fatigue? Is there certain things that you pick up on now that maybe you didn't pick up on years ago?
Um, and more so just like major overstimulation. A lot of times I'll end up with a headache just from the constant stress and thinking of what to do and how to do it and when to do it and all that stuff. So that's kind of where my decision to step back from bringing stuff home came from. My family deserves a better person than they were getting, so it was time to
Mm,
step up.
That's a great point. One of
I
the
love
points that we
that.
make here all the time is that the best thing that we can give to our students and the best thing that we can give to our staff and to our school is the healthiest version of us. Well, how much more is that true whenever it comes to our family? They deserve the healthiest version of John or Carol or Lisa that they can possibly have. And I feel like a lot of times we short our families on that. Doc, what kind of emotional signs do you notice in teachers whenever whenever you see them, what can we look for in others? We know that they're beginning to struggle with exhaustion and decision fatigue, and they're beginning to have some mental health issues.
I think one of the biggest things to notice is the disconnect. A lot of the times we can see those people that kind of just stay off to the side, or they might stay in the back of faculty sitting, a meeting sitting by themselves. But it's definitely that disconnect, that island in the stream, so to speak. So,
Yes.
and that we've talked a lot about the importance of connection and supporting one another. So, and we've talked about mama,
Hmm.
and so hopefully everybody on here has kind of tried to figure out their mama, so their
That's right.
meaningful adult and their meaningful
Yes.
activity. So we've
Yes.
talked a little bit about the meaningful activity. So hopefully everybody here
Mhm.
has at least one meaningful adult at work that can kind of be that soundboard or that accountability partner to make sure you're keeping things in check.
100%. If you haven't tuned in with us, the phrase "Who's your mama?" Lisa said I needed to put that on a T-shirt. I'm not exactly sure that's true, but "Who's your mama?" is a phrase that I learned years ago, and I usually apply it to kid. That every kid needs one meaningful adult and one meaningful activity in their life, and if they have those things, they stand a greater chance of things going well in their life, just because of those things. And so what we talked about is that every one of us need a mama too, one meaningful adult, one meaningful activity. For me, that meaningful activity was refurbishing furniture. For Carol, it's rooted in grace and her crafts. And for Doc, do you have a mama? What is it? Who's your mama? So,
So my mama has turned into creating content as well. I
yeah.
used to do just Instagram, but now I'm branching out into videos even when I have technical difficulty, but that's okay.
Hmm. So, Carol, I'm wondering how does or why do you think teachers downplay the stress and the struggles that they're having? Why do you think they just put those off and say things like, "I'm fine, it's going to be okay. All I got to do is make it till the end of the year. Or I got to make it to the break." Why do we do that as teachers?
I think there's a misconception that it's not common. I think that there's a thought that you're on an island by yourself feeling that way, or you're on an island with not very many people. But ironically, you're actually on a very populated island where there are a lot of people feeling that way. I think it's funny, but not funny, how many people in the education system are on mental health medication.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
100%. 100%. That's absolutely true. Hey, just real quick, let's jump over and let's acknowledge a few people. First of all, we got a lot of folks in here, and just wanted to reiterate. Number one, we had a technical difficulty, and it kind of knocked us off, and that's no big deal. So we're started up, but we have a lot of folks in here right now. Number one, if you didn't catch the front end of this, whenever you get in here, let us know what it is that you teach, what grade level, and your state, if you don't mind. We absolutely love to know that. And Teacher Kelly. She wants to know this question right there. Who has a snow day tomorrow? Not us.
Not
We
us.
Not
had one
us in
last year
Florida.
though.
Although it has snowed in Florida a time or two, and it did snow up in the Panhandle earlier this year, but we do not have a snow day. All right, we got another one right here. Let's see. One for him. Hey, man, good to see you. Appreciate you coming in late. It's okay. It's no big deal because we had a complete meltdown here. We glitched out and we didn't get started on time. And let's see who else we got right in here. I can't see, and that's part of my problem. Hey, we got James is in here. Hello, man. How are you doing? All right, looks like we got Sandy. Hello, I teach U.S. history, ethnic studies in California. No snow day there. Are you in North or South California? I think you've been in here before, and if so, you're from like Los Angeles, I think. Hey, Scorpio. One for him says it's snowing there.
Colorado.
Scorpio
Yeah.
says that they have a snow day tomorrow and probably Tuesday. Well,
Mm.
the only kind of days off that we usually get, they're called hurricane days. And when we
We
have
had a
those,
snow day last year.
Yeah,
we
we had a
did
winter day last year.
we did have a snow day. Before we jump back into everything, I just want to let you know, first of all, I got my good friend Carol Osteen in here with us. She is the owner and founder of Rooted in Grace. You can catch up with her right there at the QR, or you can get that down in the description box. And right now, her screen's frozen up, so don't worry about it. You can still see her picture right there, and you can hear her voice. We can still hear you, Carol, so don't run away.
Well, that's great because I'm not frozen on my end.
You're not frozen on your end. Maybe you're not frozen live. So can
I
somebody tell
am.
us? Can somebody tell us if she's frozen live? All right, Doc Pender's book right here, all about solutions, or her workbook. So jump down there and grab that. And of course, there are all kinds of free resources at Teacher Talk.
Yes.
Go get them. They are 100% for you, and we absolutely want you to have them. All right. So, Doc, teachers need to know that the struggles that they face and the things that they're dealing with, they're not isolated issues. It is a systemic issue in education around the world. Can you tell us what is it about the current model of education that's causing these mental health issues?
So, one of the things, the biggest thing that's reported by teachers and systems at large is the fact that teachers are expected to be nurses, not only and mental health counselors, teachers, mothers, fathers, you name it, coaches. They're expected to be all the things to all the kids. And it really takes a toll because teachers are giving in nature. This is why we go into
Mm-hmm.
this. We don't go into this thinking, we're going to make millions and sit
Mm-hmm.
around and eat bonbons. So that is really one of the biggest things that's been said is the amount of stuff that keeps being added to the plate. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're not even at a plate at this point. We're at a platter. Um,
Absolutely.
and all the changes that come every year. It's a new rollout of a new textbook or adopting a new system of doing behavior or whatever it is. And it would be nice to have some consistency. That's another thing that we hear from teachers is like, can't we just have like kind of the same thing again? Why do I have to keep relearning some new system that somebody else paid for to do this time? So
Absolutely. Carol, what do you think?
Am I still
uh-oh.
frozen? That's what I want to know.
You are frozen. You are frozen. It's okay though.
That's
It's going to be all right. We can still hear you, and that's the main thing.
it's never ending. It's constantly never ending. As an ESE teacher, that a certain Dr. Pinder convinced me to go into that direction a couple years ago. It is a brand new element for me in my career, one that I never foresaw myself doing, but one that I find very rewarding. However, a lot of new things and a lot of new worries that I'm not keeping up with what I need to keep up with, or
Hmm.
up to date with the newest things that I need to be up to date with, and making sure that I'm doing right by the students, but also doing right by the parents, and not putting my administration in a situation that I can't justify or back up. So yeah, it's a constant balance of keeping myself in check, but also doing what I can do.
So, teachers might be surprised to know that a majority of teachers report emotional exhaustion and burnout. Teacher burnout rates exceed those of other helping professions like law enforcement, social workers, and nurses. And large percentage of educators report stress, anxiety, or mental health strain. And I wonder, Doc, we've talked about this quite often, is what role do you think some of our litigious nature of our society plays into what we deal with as
Well,
teachers?
a big role, and you just heard Carol even mention it. Like when it comes to ESE especially, and I know we have some teachers in here that definitely work with kiddos with special needs. It's usually not the kiddos that burn us out. It's the litigious others, we'll just say, um, that and the laws that constantly change. I mean, every time we
Hmm.
turn around, there's something new. There's another new form that we should be doing, or maybe there's a new way that you're supposed to be writing that IEP goal. And what I find fascinating too, especially when it comes to the ESE world, and I'd love to hear if it's different in other states or the same, you really don't get clear answers. They're pretty much clear as mud. When you ask for any kind
Hmm.
of a model, or hey, show me the best IEP you've ever seen written, or tell me the best way you think you want this goal, they'll give you some basic, kind of general, foundational ideas, but they seldom commit to anything. That's because of the laws, and that's because of the people that come behind us and will then look for reasons to sue. I mean, I know we've talked about there's people out there uh, that look for that have no don't even have kids in school
Hmm.
and try to sue schools. So yeah, I'm sorry. I just
Yep.
saw cluster coach, and I think you're spot on. And
Yep.
it's really tough.
Absolutely.
Yep. Carol, have you ever had a parent threaten to sue you, or have you ever been afraid that somebody was going to do that?
Um, no, no, I haven't, not yet.
Well,
Keyword to be yet.
No, no,
so
no.
one of the things that I did, and we mentioned this here a few times ago, is that right down the road from me is a school called Santa Fe High School, and I want to share this up on the screen for everybody to see. I hope everybody can see it right there. State attorney drops charges against Santa Fe High administrators accused of failing to report abuse. So there was a parent that did not like a decision that got made at the school, and he's very wealthy in our county. And he decided to go out and hire a lawyer, and that lawyer put political pressure on FDLE to start an investigation at that school. That investigation turned into a 2-year investigation that was then elevated all the way to the FBI. The FBI was investigating these administrators. Now, one of those administrators being investigated is a friend of mine. I go to church with him, and great, great people. And for 2 years, this man has had to go through multiple interviews with the FBI, interviews with FDLE. Nobody would charge him. Everybody passed it off. They finally passed it off to the state's attorney. And 6 months later, they decided, well, we're just not going to charge. We're just not going to bring any charges on this. And I bring that out to point this out, that I saw that friend, my friend, this morning at church, and I kind of gave him a fist bump and gave him a hug, and he looked at me and he talked about what it did to his mental health. And of course, he made the point, man, if I didn't have my faith, and if I didn't have this church, and if I didn't have all these people, I don't know how in the world I could have possibly made it through that. And whenever we talk about that, there are teachers upon teachers that are dealing with that. Maybe not us in particular at this particular time, but most certainly there are many teachers that fall right into that. So if we can we stop and we give a couple shout outs? First of all, Cluster Coach has jumped in here. Not everybody knows this, but whenever I first got monetized as a channel, I went in the middle of the night and clicked it, and I woke up the next morning and I had a member. And so we have memberships, and Cluster Coach was the very first member of Teacher Talk on YouTube, and so I appreciate him doing that. Appreciate him being a part of everything, and all the support that he gives us in here. And I'm just wondering if any of you out there that are watching, and we got a lot of people watching tonight. I just wonder, have any of you ever had to deal with a parent that wanted to sue you or a parent that wanted to try to do you in? I can tell you, I've had that more times than I can possibly. I can't even count the amount of times. Anybody had that out there? If so, drop it down in the chat. Carol, how did you make it almost 30 years in teaching without having a parent want to sue you?
She's amazing.
I don't really have an answer for that.
You, you don't have an answer for that.
I mean, I was told, I think it was my 8th or 9th year. It wasn't a danger of being sued, but I did have a teacher, a parent, tell me as a reading coach that I was not credentialed in my position and that she could do my job better than me, but yet didn't even have a high school degree, a high school diploma, and had no idea anything about the role of
Mm,
education, but I wasn't uh, eligible to teach her child.
mm.
It was interesting.
So, so did you turn the class over to her?
Oh no, that would have been very scary.
That
That
would have
is
been
very,
very
very
scary,
scary.
wouldn't it? That would have been
We've seen
absolute.
we've seen the outcome of said parents' education time after time in our school.
Abs- Absolutely. We certainly have. So, what patterns have you seen that show that the mental health struggle that we're dealing with in education, that's not an isolated thing? Have you seen any yourself, Carol?
What do you mean? I'm not understanding.
Well, I'm just wondering, what kind of patterns do you see maybe in certain individuals that you know that are struggling, or do you see some telltale signs or anything like that in their life, in their profession, or anything like that?
I don't necessarily know that I see patterns. I struggle because I really try hard to, kind of connect and look at our staff as a family. And for many years, I've tried to build a family camaraderie on campus with trying to have kind of an outlet and a social corner to be able to get to know each other outside of being colleagues. And a lot of times there's a little pushback on that because it's kind of like, I don't want to deal with you, I don't want to be around you, I deal with you at work, it's nothing personal, but I'm ready to get out
Yes.
of here.
Yes,
And so that's kind of
absolutely.
hard because everybody becomes stressed out and everybody's there not wanting to kind of connect with each other, which I think would strengthen our our unity if we had a connection outside of just being teachers or educators.
Absolutely. So it's very interesting. The very thing that we need, which is community and connection, is the very thing that we avoid. So, Carol, why do you think that so many teachers blame themselves when they begin to struggle?
Because they're not sure where to reach out to.
They're not sure
Mm.
where to reach out to. Doc, what do you think?
I agree. Again, I go back to that, island in the stream. A lot of people think they're the only ones going through it. And unfortunately, there's a number of teachers that are facing this stress every day. Um, but then I would want them to flip it, like find the people. So I know exactly what Carol's talking about, but find the people that do want to connect. There typically are people that do want to connect. I don't know if we always have to do stuff after school, but at least during school, we can be that connection and that soundboard for each other. Um, so I just think it's super important to make sure that and that we're being realistic with ourselves. To make sure that we're being honest with how we're feeling. Because a lot of the times we have something I call I'm fine-itis. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. And really, it's not. Inside, we're crumbling, or around us is crumbling.
So I did some content recently, and one of the things that I ran across is that a lot of times the reason why teachers don't or the reason why teachers are so quick to blame themselves is because they're afraid that they are admitting or that they will be seen as weak or
Mm.
that something is wrong with them, in particular if they compare themselves to other colleagues. Carol, do you think that there's anything to that? Am I onto something there?
I do. I think that a fear out of appearing weak in a situation that really admitting that there's a struggle shows
Mm,
strength, shows that you're willing to be able to acknowledge that you need help.
mhm.
Education isn't meant to be something that we do isolated.
Oh, that is an excellent point right there. And it's really interesting because that you say that because a lot of the aspects of education are isolated. I mean, we are completely autonomous in our classroom, but at the same time, it was never intended for us to isolate ourselves off. And I think that's exactly what happens is a lot of time we isolate ourselves and we begin to think to our at least to ourselves that nobody else is struggling with this, nobody else has this problem. It's all me, and so I must be failing, and so I don't want anybody to know that I'm failing. Doc, am I on to anything right there?
You are spot on, right? Because again, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. We go home and we snap at our kids, or we snap at our partners, or we, get angry with the dog. I mean, it can be anything, and we tend to let it out in a lot of different places. But we need to be extremely cognizant of what is going on. I one time had a doctor who was phenomenal, who asked me how I was doing, and I'm like, everything's fine. And he said, who can I call to ask to hear the real story? And I
That's
was
right.
like, oh, okay.
That's
So I
right.
found that fascinating. So I just think it is something, and that's where we have to really start to be honest and get real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because what happens is when we go into that survival mode, we kind of shut the classroom door and we just go through the motions and do what we have to do. This is not
Yep.
a blame thing. This is just, okay, if I know I'm doing that, now what do I need to do that's differently? And if you
Hey,
don't, sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
I
I'm
know.
too far ahead.
I
So,
know, but if you don't have coworkers that you feel can be part of your mama, then that's what this is about. That's what teacher talk is all about. Like, we can come together, tell us what's going on with you, let's
mhm.
brainstorm, let's come up with some solutions so that when you walk in tomorrow, you do feel a little bit better about how your week is going to go.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, some Scorpio right here dropped this down in the box.
Mm.
Says, I feel like I'm teaching on my own island. Classroom teachers let the students run into my room and say it's all on me. Carol, tell us what you would do.
I would call the teacher and find out what exactly they need support with and how I can best serve the student, but also help the teacher understand how they can help the student as well with my support.
Yeah. So, but you wouldn't just let students from other classes run into your room though, would you?
No,
No, absolutely. You wouldn't just let, or I guess I should rephrase. You wouldn't just let them be dropped off in there and just feel like you didn't have anything else to anywhere to go with them, right?
no, not at all.
Yeah. So got a few people that have jumped in right here, right there, all the way from, look at that, New York. Good evening. Good evening, Sarah. Is it cold in New York? I think it is. How much snow are you going to get up there? Look at what Miss Martin writes right here. Look at this. She says, we're taught to blame ourselves. We're not
Yes.
tough enough to handle it.
Yes.
And there you have it. That
Well,
sounds about right, doesn't it?
right. So if you think about teaching as a whole, for decades it's been this way. I mean, I remember way back when, and I am going to show my age, but when the teacher strike happened here in Florida, because there were other professions that didn't even require a college degree that were making more than the teachers out of my school. So I think this has been going on for a very long time. And I know the last time we spoke 2 weeks ago, we talked about the system being broken, and it is broken. I don't know how it's going to get fixed. Sometimes we throw money at it and we expect it. to somehow get better that way. But I really haven't seen a lot of the money that's being thrown at it. Um, and that's where, so if we look at the system as a whole, it is definitely broken. I know it's really broken in Florida.
Yes.
And specifically, I know you have a graphic. I don't know if you're going to show it.
Ah,
Um, it's okay if you, oh, we just,
that's okay. I think Carol's network went down, so
oh,
let's
shoot.
just keep going there.
Okay. S- I don't know if you're going to show that graphic, but in Broward County, it just came out that 6 schools are being shut down. That's insane because that is one of the biggest counties. I think it's like the sixth largest in the nation.
Yeah.
And they are closing 6 schools. And why? Because kids are leaving in droves, but they don't have teachers either. It's a mess. So so if we look at it as a whole, yes, we can get very upset, we can get very frustrated. There's ways that we can, do things and fight for causes and whatever, what have you. But I think what's really important, at least for me being on here, is I want to be able to help whoever says
Yep.
to me right now, I'm exhausted. And like somebody had mentioned, heart palpitations, high blood
Yep.
pressure, all
Yep.
those
That's
things.
yeah,
Yes.
Miss Martin right here. Signs are not
Yes.
fine. High blood pressure, heart palpitations. That's what happens to some fellow teachers. Well,
There
you're
you go.
looking at one of those teachers that actually happened to right here.
Yes.
My heart started getting out of whack and everything started going all kinds of crazy and this, that, and the other. And look who's trying to come back. Carol's trying to jump back in here. Let's see if her internet's going to work. How about it, Carol? Are you going to be able to get in? So we have had all kinds of technical difficulties, and I guess that's what happens whenever you do a live, right?
You would think it's a full moon today.
It
It's
is a
crazy.
full moon. So somebody
Feels like
said, let's see, what did I see? Somebody's going to get like 12 to 18 inches. Look right there.
yeah,
Sarah
no
says
shit.
that they're going to get 12 to 18 inches tonight, where she's at. So they got a pile of snow coming.
Mm.
Sarah, see, she also says, look right here, that it is 7 degrees
Ugh,
where she's at.
I can't even
Yep,
fathom that.
yep. And right here, this is the final one. This is the truth.
Yeah.
They're begging teachers to come back. They absolutely are begging teachers to get back in on the job. So, and cluster coach says that he had to take that they had to take a leave down there. Let's see right there, had to take a leave of absence, and that's a super good idea. If you have the ability to take a leave, that's absolutely a super good idea. Carol, are you able to hear us because we can't even see you now? I think you went completely out. Is
I
what I
think so.
think. I think you went completely out. That's too bad.
I know.
Well, we really wanted to bring something a little different tonight, and that's okay. So, Doc, just picking back up on it, what are some shifts that teachers should look for that maybe take place in their body, or some things that happen that say, "Hey, you need to slow down and take some time."
So definitely that blood pressure, the heart rate, the palpitations. So the physical signs, right? The headaches, a lot of backaches. There's a great book. It's called Back in Control. It's by a spine surgeon who found that he would perform surgeries, but
Right.
then, right, but then the people would 6 months later still have the same problem. And then he found it to be stress related. So he gives a
Mm-hmm.
lot of great tips that you can incorporate into your day. So definitely look for the physical, but also the mental. And that's where looking at and the mental and behavioral kind of go together.
Right.
But mental can be like depression, can really kind of having that pessimistic view, but also behavioral, like how are you interacting with others? And are you snapping a lot of the different times? So those different kinds of
Look who
things. Yay,
look who
she
came
said it.
back to the conversation. Isn't that cool? I mean, this has been the craziest live I've ever had in my entire life. Every time we turn around, something happens. What's going on over here in the chat? Maybe we should just talk to people tonight. Maybe that's what we should do. So there it is. What do you got right here, Scorpio? Let's see what you got. The principal
Mm.
let students come into my class before the class period started. No. Carol, what would you do?
My no. There's a reason my
You
door's locked.
That's right. There's a
Mm.
reason that the door's locked. She doesn't let kids into her room like that. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, look at this. This is a good one right here. Miss Martin, watch drinking patterns is also something to
Yes.
note. If you're drinking every day after school, you have to stop before it becomes a problem. Absolutely right. I'm not sure that any of us are actually drinkers or anything like that. I wouldn't condemn somebody that wanted to have a drink, but sometimes whenever you see those memes that teachers put up about, hey, it's wine o'clock or whatever it is, maybe, and I know that those are intended to be funny, but sometimes that becomes reality. You know what I mean? And so Miss Martin is 100% right that we absolutely gotta be careful with our drinking patterns. Carol, what happened to you? Did you get lost in cyberspace?
Can you not see me now?
No,
I
we
can
can
see
see
you. I can see you now, but we were wondering where's
Oh,
Carol? We were looking everywhere for Carol.
well, I tried to unfreeze myself, but whatever.
Yeah, I
you.
got you. Yeah, Miss
Teachers,
Martin says she would lock her door and turn the lights out. She wouldn't let anybody into her classroom. I 100% don't blame her. So
hey
here's
John.
the thing. Teacher Talk, Teacher Talk is a faith forward organization, and we're not trying to be faith forward because we want to be offensive or anything like that. We're faith forward because that's who we are. And those are the types of solutions that we provide. And the core verse at Teacher Talk is Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 23. Above all else, guard your heart, for from it flow the issues of life. What happens inside of a teacher eventually shows up everywhere else in their life because teaching is not sustained by effort alone, but by the condition of your heart. And so, Doc, my question here is what can we do best to protect our heart?
Well, I love the idea of watching everything because everything needs to be in balance, right? So that goes back even to the drinking comment.
It
So
does.
everything, because it could even be eating, it could even be over exercising, crazy enough that I actually had one client at one point that we had to work on that. So it's really balance. And I know we talk about work life balance a lot, but I'm even thinking just balance with everything in general, like everything in moderation. You hear that being said, but one of the
Hmm.
biggest things is first and foremost, I think we all need to figure out what exactly it is that we want. And some people say, well, I want to win the lottery so I can sit around and do nothing all day. But let's be realistic. Like, what's something that you could do today to benefit your tomorrow? And that's where we need to look at our stress, we need to look at our health, and we need to look at the strategies that we are willing to put into place. There's some really basic ones, but I think the first one is just getting real with yourself and
Mm.
being aware of the areas that you might need growth.
So, Carol, what do you think, just off the top of your head, what are one or two things that teachers could do, or maybe something that you do to protect your heart that you could share with teachers apparently all over the world right now?
To protect my heart,
Yes.
not try and fix every situation.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'm a fixer, and
Yes.
when I have a student that is broken, it's hard for me to realize fixing their brokenness is not necessarily in my capabilities.
So that is a core issue that we deal with right here at Teacher Talk is that the vast majority of teachers they take on the burdens of other students, and to some degree we can't exactly help do that because we care about them and we love them. But we have to remember that there's only so much that we can do, and when we take on their burdens at a high level, I believe that we struggle with what's called secondary trauma, is that we
Mhm.
begin to absorb some of their trauma into our life. Doc, what does that look like in the life of a teacher?
Well, again, it's exactly what you just said. It's really absorbing it and it's making their situation ours, which is totally not healthy. It's one thing to be empathetic and want to be able to assist people. It's another thing when it becomes kind of part of our identity. So we have to watch that. And I think it goes back to just understanding that there's a lot of things in this world, whether it's teaching or anything else that we do, are that are out of our control. And when we learn to be like, either way it's okay, when we learn to kind of let things be, I can do what I can, but I need to let things be, then it helps us and it helps to protect us. But absorbing all of that from others is very, very dangerous. And that's why I like, and I know you're going to pop back and forth, but Miss Martin wrote, daily examinations of conscience is important. And I love that. A way to evaluate your relationship with the Lord and to each other.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think
Yep.
we really need, and I think what happens is we become, to quote Pink Floyd, let's go comfortably numb. We just kind of go through the motions. So it's again being honest with ourselves, being aware of what's going on around us, and then being able to put some strategies in place to move forward.
So, Carol, how do you combat your urge or the need or desire, however you would want to describe that, to fix things? How do you overcome that?
I spend a lot of time in prayer about my students and their home life
Yeah.
because if there's a situation at home that I want to see better for them, I mean, obviously, there are things I can do, but some things I can't. And a lot of times I've got to realize I can only do so much and I've got to leave the rest of it in the Lord's hands because it's up to Him to help where I can't.
So one of the things that I learned in the well, I didn't actually learn it during the period of burnout because I got to be honest with you. I have to be honest with everybody. I was so angry at the time, and both Lisa and Carol were my colleagues, and they can remember me coming in with my face sideways and my eyes wouldn't blink. Everybody thought I had a stroke, and Carol literally came and bent and leaned over my desk and says, "John Miller, you go home." And I said, "I can't because I got to do this and I have to do that." But in
But
retrospect,
hold on, I'm going to interrupt you because even students picked up on that.
they
Because
did.
Friday night with graduates from several years ago that I was out to supper with, they even brought that up and the fact
Yeah.
that our role in education is so stressful that
Hmm.
they remember you going through that and
Oh,
having your
wow.
face all drooped and I mean
Yep.
that stood out for them that was how stressful the role is.
It is. That's how stressful the role is. So, in retrospect, almost 4 years or whatever it is to the other side of that, and I've had a lot of time to sit down and think. Um, you know, the problem that I had is that I internalized so many things, and I, to some degree, perceived maybe a lot of things that were innocuous. I perceived them as personal attacks.
Mm,
And some of them were personal attacks for sure, and they were very difficult. And I became so angry and so bitter over those things that it affected my heart. Okay, my inside, the person that I am on the inside. It affected me so much that I was literally puking garbage, right? And instead of being able to deal with those things, because I did isolate myself, I internalized those things and it made itself manifest
mhm,
in a paralyzed face. And I say all that to say this because, we have lots of people that listen to us. There's going to be thousands of people that listen to this podcast around the world. I say that to say, you know, as an individual, you have to check your heart. And I have to
mhm,
check my heart every day up against the scripture, up against what other people say, up against what my pastor says on Sundays at church. And this Sunday, one of the first Sundays in years today, uh, being free, feeling free, not feeling so bound up. And a lot of that has come through the fact that I do now have hobbies. I will not bring work home. I will not bring problems home anymore. That I'm vigilant about my heart and I check it when it's getting out of sorts. And that verse became a lifeline to me. Above all else, of a matter of first importance, guard your heart. Because everything you do, or who you are, is a better way to put it, that's where it flows from. And that's where all of the vitriol that I sit in Doc's office and kicked rocks. I sit with Karen and kicked rocks and slammed and griped and complained and moaned and groaned. That's where everybody that came from an unchecked heart.
Just
A
call me
hundred,
Karen.
100%. What was that? Hey, look at what Cluster Coach says here. I know we're all out of sorts tonight. I'm learning that too. I have to fix this attitude. I have to fix this attitude. Has to be more limited than I must fix this. Has to change to I can support, but I cannot be responsible for
Yes.
outcomes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
got to find the clapper over here so I can give that a big hand clap. I don't even know where that's at. I think it's over here somewhere. Does it even work? I don't even know if it works. There we go. That's 100% right. Okay,
I love that.
because we can't be responsible for the outcomes. They were the outcomes, the problems were never ours. They were never ours to fix. They're only ours to do the best that we can with the limited amount of time that we have. Miss Martin, and don't be afraid to go to therapy
Yeah.
if need be. Join 12-step programs. Well, Miss Martin, you're 100% right. That's why we bring Doc here. She's the PhD of the bunch. The rest of us are just regular old teachers. We don't have titles or anything like that, but she's a PhD, right? And so that's why we also go to her because she helps us with that. All right.
But that's
So
huge, and I really, really hope that people can even see that, a lot of the times therapy doesn't need to be sitting on a couch telling about your mom. Therapy can also be coaching, and that's a lot what I do is like, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, what's going on, what do you wanna work on, and then let's go. So
yep,
it's a lot more, solution focused, that's why we talk a lot about solutions, but you guys have come up with some great stuff tonight, and I really hope that people are feeling supported because that's why we're here. That's what Teacher Talk is
absolutely.
all about.
Hey, just real quick before we jump out of here because we're going to go on to another segment. Is this Carol Osteen? She's in here with us. She's one of our colleagues. Her and Doc and I, we have talked for, I don't know, hundreds of hours it seems like. And Carol started this little thing right here. It's on Facebook. You can connect with her through the QR, or it's in the description down there. That is Rooted in Grace, and that is her hobby, her business, her ministry. Is there another adjective I should put in there, Carol, for that, or did I get them all?
I mean, it's my I don't know. Yeah, you got it wrong. I just
Okay,
lost what I
I
was
did.
gonna
I
say.
think it's a
I did
great
too.
outlet too.
It is. It's a great
That's the word I
outlet.
was looking for. The outlet.
Yeah.
That was it, right there.
This is old Doc Pender here, and that's her all about solutions. That is her 5-day challenge. You can grab that at the QR code, or it's down in the description box, and you can pick it up right there. No problems. It's there for you. Whatever it is that you want to do, and of course we have all of our free products here at Teacher Talk. You can go grab them right there at the QR code. 100% free and always free because we've tried to be a free support service to teachers, and we depend completely and totally and solely upon what people will generously donate, whether it's through memberships. And again, we appreciate Cluster Coach. He was the first ever member. If you want to be a member of the Teacher Talk, you can just hit the button down there. I think Cluster Coach, I didn't even know how much they were. I think he said they were $4.99 a month, something like that. We appreciate that, and super chats that Miss Martin has handed out to us. We appreciate those. That's how we pay the bills and how we fund everything around here. So, Doc, there's a lot of stigma around mental health. It's just a lot of fears, a lot of cultural things, and folks want to stay away from it. And so, I would like to reframe mental health not as an indulgence or as a weakness, but as infrastructure.
For sure.
So, in the United States, there is a highway system that was implemented many, many years ago, and it's developed into what it is today. And that is an infrastructure that creates continuity in the United States, enables people to travel, obviously, enables food to get from one place to the other. And if something major happened and those roadways got cut off, we'd have a hard time surviving for very long in the United States. How is mental health, how does it serve as an infrastructure to create stability in the life of the teacher?
It's the foundation to help with the stability of anybody. And I think one of the things, and I think it was Miss Martin even said, like not being ashamed to do so. You're right. And I think sometimes that shame comes from comparison. Well, that teacher seems to have it together and that person's doing okay. And that one, wow, they're teaching three different, preps. So they're doing fine. What's wrong with me? Well, comparison's the thief of joy. So if you're constantly comparing, you're never going to get better. So I really like it when people can like turn that focus inward. I mean, if you had a broken arm, you wouldn't think, "Oh, well, let's see, I'll go get two sticks and I can repair it myself." No, you would go to a doctor. So mental health is no different. And it's not that there's something that's broken. There might just be an area that you want to strengthen. There might be somewhere that you want to grow. And I liken it a lot to coaching. Again, Tom Brady had to have a coach. Yes, he was one of the greatest, but he also had a coach. So this isn't any way like a negative. It's definitely a positive. It's to
Right.
help you build. Same
Right.
thing. If you needed to learn yoga, you'd go to a yoga
Sure.
instructor. I just
Sure.
think we need to be honest with ourselves and take inventory in
Mhm.
the different areas. Our health, both physical and mental, our relationships, how are they? And then it goes into finances and faith. Like what are we centered on? And then
Mm.
how are we taking care of our tomorrows with finances?
So, Carol, one of the things that I notice is that a lot of times, people in general, but teachers specifically, we treat mental health as if it's an extra, something that we're
Hmm.
going to get to at some point. How does like neglecting mental health, in your opinion, exacerbate the burnout problem that we're seeing amongst teachers?
Well, I think kind of back to your who's your mama. I remember a couple years ago, and this was before Lisa and I really had much of a personal relationship. We had a professional relationship, but it was not very much of a personal relationship. And I was ready to jump ship. I was ready to say, I'm out. This is more than I'm willing to put up with, or more than I'm willing to do. And she kind of saw that without me realizing it, because I tried to hide it because everything was fine. And yeah, it's pretty potent when you get into that mindset. And if you don't have a person that you can lean on, you don't have a person that you can count on to be able to say, hey, get yourself in check, what's going on here, and help you find your why again, or help you remember that your why is there, or help you believe in yourself that you can and you are capable. So I think it's a
Mm,
fear of being willing to admit I'm stuck.
that's right. So, Doc, what changes when we stop treating mental health as something that's optional and start treating it as something that is a part of doing our job well?
You're going to see tremendous growth, right? That's the shift. And I think our country is finally starting to shift in that general direction. We're starting to see a lot more mental health funding and
Mm,
we're trying to break the stigma that way. But again, it goes back to seeing how things work in your life. And that's the greatest thing. What Carol said is a lot of the times we hold up that mask or that smiley face sign saying, look, everything's great, everything's fine,
mm,
because we don't want to be perceived exactly like I think it was Cluster Coach said, like that we're crazy or something's wrong.
hmm.
Um, it's again, it can be building strengths, it can be growth, and that's what we really focus on when it comes to all about solutions is what are you it's kind of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. What do you already possess that we can use to make things better, whatever it might be? So you already have a lot of the tools. Sometimes you just don't know how to use them, or you're really not paying attention to certain things. So it's a matter of just, again, coming together, brainstorming some things, getting a lot of things out, kind of establish, looking at those patterns, see which ones need to be broken and see which ones need to be reshaped that you can move forward with.
So I think the stigma around mental health is so difficult, and I just from my advantage point, I think that there's two different sides. There's the one side that think whenever they hear the word mental health, they think psycho crazy,
Mhm.
right? Or you're a schizophrenic, or
Mhm.
you're a a serial killer or something along those lines. And then there's the other side. I spent 20 plus years in the ministry. There's the other side, and they hear mental health, and it's like taboo. It's like the DSM-5 is like some kind of witchcraft book or something along those lines. And what I feel like we fail to remember is just as people and humanity is that we are broken people, right? We're
Mhm.
we're broken. We're broken emotionally, we're broken physically, we're broken, mentally. And I would go to the doctor if I had the flu.
Mhm.
So why not go to the doctor if you are jammed up mentally, or at least make contact with somebody else? Carol, what did it take? You mentioned a while ago that you started talking with Doc at work a little bit, on the side. What did it take for you to be able to open up like that? Do you mind sharing with us?
The fact that she was authentic, the fact that she was straightforward and willing to call it like it was.
Mm,
But at the
yeah.
same point, she was willing to remind me of my purpose there.
Mm,
I never forgot my purpose, but I felt
right.
inadequate at that point,
Right.
or defeated, I
So
should say, not inadequate. I felt defeated.
yeah, I got you. I got you. So there's a characteristic if you're looking for a community of people, you need to find authentic people. And authentic people not only tell you straight, but they also suffer with you, and they don't tell your tea to other people. How about that? That's why we're here.
Can
Although,
I hit the applause button on that?
huh?
I
I,
don't have the,
I
I
I
don't
don't.
have the applause.
You don't have the applause button. So look at this right here. Okay, Sarah brings up an extraordinarily good point. Some cultures don't acknowledge mental health. That is
Mm.
100% right. That is 100% right. I feel like, and I could be wrong, so somebody can tell me if I am wrong, is that in recent days, our Hispanic culture at our school has grown. And I want you to know that our Hispanic kids are wonderful kids, but I believe the Hispanic culture does not like the mental health side of things, Doc. Am I right about that, or am I off track?
Well, I think there's a lot of issues that kind of go in for our Hispanic communities right now, but I think really as a whole, mental health is has just had a stigma across cultures. And
Yeah.
where I'm really getting nervous is I feel that our society, the American society right now, is into heavy labeling. I've
Yeah.
got fourth and fifth graders telling me I have ADHD, I have
Yeah.
PTSD, I have that,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh no, 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 no. So that is a very, very sticky situation because on one hand, I want people to be very aware of what's going on, how they're feeling, and connected with that. On the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, I'm very nervous of how many kids, literally second graders, uh, first graders, telling me that they have ADHD. Um, but yes, I'm kind of jumping around. I feel like a politician. Yes, I do feel certain cultures, it's kind of like suck it up, shut up.
Yep.
So mental health is pushed to the side.
Yep.
Um, but at the same time, I'm seeing across cultures, at least in kids,
Yep.
coming to me saying all these different labels.
Absolutely. Hey, look at what Miss Martin says right here. Sometimes folks will be all that our faith isn't strong enough if we're having mental health problems. That can
Mm,
contribute to the stigma. 100%.
yep.
100%. One of the saving graces that I have is that, there came a time in the life of John the Baptist where he's locked up in prison, right? And he had seen Jesus do all these miracles. He'd seen him do all these things. And he sent like a runner over to Jesus to say, hey, man, are you the real deal or are we just going nuts? And so
Mhm.
there's John the Baptist in the midst of a crisis, right? And he begins to struggle. So if John the Baptist struggles, don't you guess John, the dean of students, is going to struggle too? And that Carol, the ESC teacher, is going to struggle, and that well, Dr. Pender probably doesn't struggle, but that's a whole nother
Oh,
story.
yes, I do, and I
So,
thankfully have
uh,
people call me out.
yeah, look at what Sarah says. You don't want to be labeled. That's exactly right. We don't want to be labeled. That's why teachers stay so quiet. I absolutely believe that. And so, Doc, I'm wondering how do we chart a path forward? If you were able right at this moment to speak to every teacher in America, what would you say to them in this moment?
All right, it's time to get real. That's the first thing I would say. Let's get real. Let's be looking at how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're acting. And let's talk to others and see if there's areas that they see. But I would at least want to pick one area that I would want growth in. And again, it's not saying change and it's not saying there's something bad. It's it's recognizing that stagnant is not healthy, right? We need growth, we need movement. So I would
Yep.
want them like, let's work together on that. Let's figure out what it is you exactly want and let's go for it. I've had teachers tell me, okay, I'm that's it, I'm out, I'm leaving the profession. Okay, well, let's go through that and see what's really going on, and are you really ready to leave the profession,
Mm-hmm.
or do you need some things to change? um, so again, I just think it's all about, think of it as coaching again. I know I keep bringing that up, but if
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to learn a new skill, you would go to a chef to learn
Yep.
cooking, the yoga master to learn your yoga. So this is no different. Reach out and find somebody who can help you with your growth.
Absolutely. Carol, if you could talk to every teacher in America and you could encourage them, what would you say to them in this moment?
Don't give up.
Hmm, that's a good one. That is a great one. Don't give up. I think if I could add to what both of you said, I would say this: go home. When the
Mm.
bell rings, just go home. Go home and be with the people that you love most and they love you most. You know, at any moment, our jobs may give us the pink slip. They just might give us the pink slip. And yet, my family, despite all the times that I wasn't at home, that I was on the job, and that I was working late, they never gave me a pink slip. If you
Even
have the
not a pink
days,
slip.
huh?
Even not a pink slip.
That's
I
right.
mean, you never know when your time comes, and your family is going to be the one that's going to be there for you,
It's
no matter
absolutely
how
right.
much your students love you and all that. But your family's going to be there for you.
That's right. That's right. Go home. Number two, if you have days, take them. I feel like the pot calling the kettle black. I told somebody the other day I could take off every Monday and Friday, I think, for the next year and a half. I have so much time. And I get that there's a reason why we bank up time, but if you have it, take it every once in a while. Get away.
You may
Number
have to take
3,
time off and not realize it.
that's right. And number 3, don't look as at rest as if it's some sort of a reward. Rest is
Mm.
built into creation. And that's why we see that God rested on the seventh day. It is not because he was tired, it was a model. We have to rest. And rest means dropping all the things that have to do with education, all the things that have to do with work, and focusing solely on things that bring joy. That's what it means. Now, if you're interested, here's two more videos right here that'll teach you about two unspoken rules that are destroying the mental health of people. But until then, stay strong and keep teaching. So let's jump into our chat because I missed a lot. Hey, Tam and Fam jumped in here. Good evening. Good to see you. How is everything going up your way? If anybody has any topic that you want to talk about while we're in here, drop it in the chat. If not, we're going to go watch a football game, and we appreciate everybody showing up. We're here every Sunday night at 7 o'clock in some way or the other, and we had a major technical difficulty, and we lost contact and had to restart
Good
and
time.
do everything else. Did you want me to say that? You can say that if you want. Do you,
Well, I do, because when I tried to give you a clue of what I was trying to go with when I said you might have to take time off unexpectedly, and
oh,
spending time with your family, because the very beginning of this year I got an unexpected diagnosis of colon cancer. And I was out of work for almost 2 months. Thank the Lord, I am cancer free now. But yeah, I had to remove myself from my classroom for 2 months and not be able to be involved and fix the problems. Unfortunately, that year that
Mm.
I committed to not bringing stuff home, John, yeah, I had to bring stuff home during that time. As a matter
yeah,
of fact, my husband got on to me because I was writing an IEP in the hospital bed.
yeah.
Um,
And he got on to you.
Well, I gotta make sure that gets written right because I wasn't running the meeting, so I had to make sure that it was done.
Hey,
Um, but so yeah, I say all that to say, life will throw you a curveball, or as Forrest Frank and the Figs say, life will give you lemons, but Jesus will make lemonade. You got to find the good even when it's bad because you can find it
hmm,
there. And if you're 45 years or older, go schedule your colonoscopy because it could save your life. Save mine.
absolutely. Hey, Carol.
And
So
work didn't
here, look.
matter at that point.
So Miss Martin.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, before we get there, look here, cluster coach. Hey, sorry to hear that, Carol. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it. Yes, it's a great encouragement because, my goodness gracious, I mean, Carol endured with grace. Okay, once again, I would have been kicking the dirt, throwing stuff up, and been over at Doc's office. Why me? And but Carol really did that with grace. Hey, Carol, answer this question for Miss Martin right here. What do you do when duties as assigned have you being scheduled after school?
Why are duties after school being assigned? My contract ends at a certain time. I mean, for us, our contract ends at 3:30. So any duties assigned after that, let's talk about why it's happening then.
Let's
And if
work.
there's no way around doing something after your required time, then let's talk about the compensation
That's right. That's right.
because
Either
your
either
time is
come up
valuable.
Either come up with some comp time, go home at your contract hour. If your admin pushes it, go to your union and let them battle that. Hey, Doc, this question is going to be for you right here. What do you do?
Well, I love asking them what ADHD is, and who diagnosed them. Because more often than not, they just tell me that, oh, I can't pay attention and I can't do this and I can't do that. And then I love following it up with, well, how long are you on your phone or how long do you play video games per day? And I really push back on these diagnoses. They really just hit my spinal cord because it just makes me insane. Um, but I do kind of then help them understand that a diagnosis is an explanation, not an excuse. So you can explain different things to me, and okay, that helps me understand maybe a learning style or a strategy that I need to use, but it's not an excuse for you not to be doing your work, for there to be nothing but zeros under your, name in the grade book, and for you choosing to throw that chair across the room. No, no, no.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's when I
Yep,
get real. I
absolutely.
can't stand it. Can you tell?
So,
I think my standard answer with students like that is, okay, so if you have been diagnosed, if you are, a student that is having to learn with that, fine. But like you said, Lisa, it's not an excuse. The expectation is still there that you're going to learn. You don't get to use that as an excuse. You get to use that as a strength because you're gonna eventually overcome, and we're gonna push through. You don't get to use it as a throw your hands up and say I'm done.
Yes.
Sarah's got one here. That's about like what we've heard quite often. One girl said to because she said so. That's some of what we hear. You know, so I don't think any of us deny the reality that some students do have ADHD. Um,
Hmm.
some students do, right? And for those, we want to be there and we want to help. But I think what the point that Doc was making some time ago is that somehow we're told not to label kids. You don't want to label somebody. And then yet we turn around and give them labels,
Hmm.
right?
And
And
they're labeling themselves, and their
and
parents are labeling them. And
they
again, it goes from explanation to excuse.
they absolutely do. And again, like Doc said, you can be diagnosed with something,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that you get to make an excuse. I mean,
No.
Carol was diagnosed with colon cancer. But that didn't mean that she had an excuse to come into work and tear the place up or whatever, or for any other thing. She can't be like, well, I have, she didn't. She faced that so well. All right. I really could not believe how well and courageous that Carol went through that. Hey, ripples in the water. Yeah. Well, we had ripples in the water. We had all kinds of problems tonight. Okay. We got
And then
hooked up. Then we got unhooked, and then somehow Carol froze up, and then somehow she got gone. She came back. She got gone, and she came back. So she's here with us now,
party.
and we so appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Private schools. Let's see what she says right here. Private schools and charter schools don't. Oh my goodness. Mm, you're right. The private school doesn't give you. You're right about that. But you should still have a contract, shouldn't you? Or do you? I know that it wasn't just that long ago that there was a school around the corner. They're a private school, and we were in talks about me coming there, and they had a contract. It was a little different than any contract I'd seen, but they did have a contract. So here's what Scorpio says: regardless of their diagnosis, they can't just behave any way that they want.
Totally agree.
You're right. So one of the guys,
100%.
and I don't really follow this guy, but the principal Lamb guy, he comes on every once in a while, and I saw him I think in a podcast or somewhere, and he was just making the point that if you have a student that is so disruptive, that elopes, that is violent, that is what he that what all those things, regardless of what the diagnosis is, regardless of what the paperwork is, that student simply cannot be on campus. They can't. They have to be somewhere else. It's not that they don't deserve or have a right to education. It's just that so one of the things in Florida that just came out the other day is that the ESE departments in Florida are the most undermanned departments in the entire state, and they're going to be cut 20% for the 26-27 school year. We simply cannot serve the kids that we're being asked to serve. We don't have the capacity to serve it, and that's why our mental health is the way it is. We're trying, and more gets laid on top of us. So here's a question right here. Can you explain the retirement benefits associated with teaching? Do you feel the pension is worth it? Man, oh man. So, Carol and Doc have been in this a little bit longer. So I have a 501 or a 401k, and I have a 401b, which I think is a type of a Roth, isn't it? Isn't a 401b a type of a Roth or something like along
Yes,
those
that's the
lines?
wrong person.
But I also have the pension system as well. The one thing that I don't like about the pension system is that you really don't make a lot of money until after 30 years in Florida. because after 30 years, isn't it 30 years, Carol and Lisa? You can
Yes.
go into what we call the drop, and then your money it's exponential how much money you can earn for your retirement right there. So my suggestion, and I am not a financial advisor, is I would have all the above. Tam and Fam, that's what I would have. Um,
I would find out if I can just jump in really quick. I
yep.
would find out, Tam and Fam, if your district offers like a financial advisor, because sometimes they do. They'll have consults with financial advisors, and you can talk to them a little bit more. They know the ins and outs of that, because that's why you kind of see me as a deer in headlights. I'm in year 28, and yeah, so I would definitely try to look into kind of any financial advisor, and a lot of people will give you a consult for free if your district doesn't have it. Okay, sorry.
So, Carol, one of the things that we have in our district is we have an advisor that comes around to us and they talk to them.
Mhm.
Have you
Yes.
ever utilized that by chance?
Mhm.
I did. I met with her once, but it still is foreign to me.
Mhm.
Well, I agree.
It still is.
Yeah, it's 100% foreign to me. I mean, they talk all this stuff. I have no idea what they're talking about other than I look in there and one day I have more money than I did the other day. And that's about all I
That's a
can
good
do.
thing. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen.
Holy
Can
cow. Look at there.
I know. Can we go? Okay, where are you?
In
All right.
Chicago,
I'm gonna let you go.
I teammate of 30 years gets a pension of 110. Holy cow.
That's awesome.
Holy cow. Let's see. California has a 401(k), has a great pension, 403(b), has a Roth option, but mine isn't one. Gotcha. Ripples in the water. Um, so what was you going to say, Doc?
I saw um doggone it. Okay. I liked how somebody mentioned the Pomodoro method with ADHD kiddos, the 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off kind of thing. That's great. And it reduces the cognitive overload. Those brain breaks are also awesome for us. And it's great for our kids to see that sometimes we need them as well. And then going back to the whole private school kind of thing. I'm sorry, I know I'm bouncing all over, but when it says, you have a contract, but if you say no, they can find ways to punish you. Miss Martin put that.
Yeah.
The way that I can suggest this as nicely as humanly possible is putting the ball back in their court. I love the statement. I'm confused, or the question, I'm confused, in the statement, help me understand. So if they ask me to do something outside of my contracted hours, I would just put in an email. So help me understand my compensation for that time outside of my contracted hours. And then that can be the comp time, that can be overtime, whatever that might look like. And again, it's just kind of letting them know that you're just not going to accept everything. Okay.
So I think Tam and Fam is asking if we have to have 30 years to retire. And the answer
It's
to that,
strongly, sorry.
yeah, it's strongly recommended, and I hope it doesn't go too bad because I'm leaving at 20,
Yeah.
which I'm coming up on. I can't. I don't think I can make it much longer. I may have to stay longer, but I think I'm gonna check out.
It is
Um,
necessary. I talked to the financial advisor. That was my exact question. And she said, hang in there. She
it
said, get to
yeah
30.
yeah. If I was in your shoes, I would stay too.
Yeah.
So tell us, um, did you enjoy Carol Osteen tonight, or as my phone says, Carol Austin. Austin. I don't know why my phone says that. We are just three regular teachers that struggle greatly. We're not experts. We don't know the answer to every question, but we do care deeply. We care deeply for our students. We care deeply for each other, and we care deeply for you, teachers.
Mhm.
That's who we care for. So if that's all we got for tonight, we're going to sign it off and we say stay strong and keep teaching.